Hello and welcome. I apologize for getting a little bit of a late start. However, we have run into a slight difficulty in that neither one of our speakers has actually joined yet. So I'm not too sure what to say. Let's just give them a few more minutes as you guys file in here for our third session of the day today. Feel free to use the chat function and let us know where you are tuning in from. And yeah, hopefully we'll have Alicia and Nazma joining us soon. Hello from Halifax, or hello to Halifax. All right, we've got Alicia is with us. And let's see, Nazma. Hello, Calgary, Kingston, Toronto, Mississauga, LA. Oh, thanks for joining us for the third time today, Nicole. And let's get okay, we can see Alicia's here.
Hi.
Hi.
I think Nazma's having a little trouble with the link.
Ah. Okay. I will just pause then for a second and let people keep arriving here. We'll probably just end up going a little over 2 o'clock if that's okay. I'll be right back.
Hi everyone, I'm Alicia from Fashion Revolution and I hope you can hear me. I'm not quite sure. We are just trying to get Nazma on the line and then hopefully we can start. Okay, that's great to hear, thanks. We had a bit of tech issues, which you wouldn't believe considering that we've all only been using Zoom for the last few months. But yeah, for some reason the link wasn't working for me and for Nazma, so I've now made my way in. But hopefully Nazma will be with us soon, who I can't wait to get talking to. I think she's a super fascinating woman and I will let her introduce more about what she does as soon as we get her on the line.
Okay, I think, yeah, I'm not too sure what happened. This is our third session today. So I guess it's always, there's always room for technical errors. I'm just gonna actually issue a poll so we can have a little bit of an understanding of who is out there watching. So if you don't mind, take a second to respond. It'd be very helpful.
I think Nazma says she might be on the line now.
Is she under a different name? Because I'm trying to find her in the attendees and I can move her over to a panelist, but I don't know what name to see under what. How is she communicating with you?
By email.
I did send the link. I just need to know who, if it's not her name, if she's under someone else's name. Apologies, everyone. I'll just chat a little bit while we're waiting here. Alicia, if you can just let me know what name she's using when you find that out. Yeah, so some of you have, this is your third session with us today. Others are just joining in. We've had a couple of very engaging conversations around rebuilding the fashion industry. I'm Kelly Drennan. I'm the founder of Fashion Takes Action and the producer of the World Ethical Apparel Roundtable, which is now obviously going digital. We did poll the industry back in the spring and decided to offer this at no cost to the industry. And of course, this topic was the most popular one. So we're actually splitting it over 2 days. Hopefully you can join us again. There's a session today at 2:30 on building harmonious supply chains. And then tomorrow we'll have a couple of sessions related to science-based targets and business recovery strategies. And I'll share the link for those later in the chat. Speaking of the chat, feel free to use that to make any comments, to connect with one another in terms of the actual questions that you would like to pose to either of our speakers. Please use the Q&A at the bottom of your screen for that. How are we doing, Alicia?
She's saying she's in the room. I've asked her what name she is under. Nazma, if you can hear us, how can she send us a sign of life?
She can go in the chat. There's a chat at the bottom of your screen, Nazma. Click that and then
okay.
Let us know.
It's under Nazma, but we can't see her. How strange. Let me just check.
Can she type it in the chat?
I've asked her. She can type in the chat.
If she just types hello, we'll see who it's from, and then that way I'll be able to actually see the name she's under. Nazma, if you can hear us, can you type a message?
No idea. Just have to wait.
Nazma, if you can hear us, can you please type in just hello in the chat? The bottom of your screen, there's a toolbar that has a bunch of icons. One of them is chat.
Apologies, everyone. We're trying to get Nazma in from Bangladesh. It's actually super late in the evening there for her, so she's stayed up especially for this. So hopefully we can get her in a minute. She hasn't replied via email yet.
Yeah, once she's in, I'll make her a panelist, but I'm not sure. Okay. Well, today's talk is going to be building on our previous chats, and obviously transparency came up quite a bit. And I think today's session is going to be very engaging once we can get Nazma on here to hear a little bit more about Fashion Revolution's Transparency Index, of course, but then also listening to Nazma and her story of building the foundation, and which is actually founded and led by garment workers. We'll be learning a little bit more about who is responsible for transparency, who's accountable for transparency. So it is going to be a really great conversation. At some point, we will be getting started soon. And again, my apologies for this delay. Nazma, if you are here, can you please just type in the chat hello so I can see your username?
I haven't heard anything via email just yet.
Okay. I'm going to try. I've resent her the actual panelist invitation, so maybe that's.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I can't see her under the attendees either.
I know it's almost midnight for her too, so this is no, a little stressful way for her to end her day, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Oh. Nazma, can you hear us?
Okay. Just have to unmute yourself.
Nazma, can you hear us?
She's muted. Oh, but maybe frozen.
Maybe frozen. We see her. It's like a collective effort now.
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
She's not frozen now, but still muted. Oh.
Nazma, can you hear us at all? We have someone else joining from Bangladesh. Oh no, out there. Yeah, they're not. No, from Halifax. Nazma, can you hear us? Not sure.
Oh, okay. Here's the video. Okay. Now, do we have sound? It looks like sound's on too now. Hello, Nazma.
Hello, hi, how are you?
Oh, great. Thank you. Sorry about the technical difficulties. We're so glad you could join us. So are the attendees, it looks like as well. So I've already done a brief introduction. I'm going to actually take a step back now and let you two have a really engaging discussion. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm sorry, apology for the delay because of the technical problem.
Yeah, apologies too. I know, and thank you in advance for joining us so late at night. So I'm calling in from London for those of you who don't know where we're based, from the Fashion Revolution team. I'm on the policy and research team here. And because we have lost quite a bit of time, I'm going to jump into hearing from Nazma because we've all been waiting to hear from you, Nazma. So could we start with an introduction about you and about the Awaj Foundation and the work that you do?
Thank you, Alish, and thank you, audience, also giving me the chance to talk. My name is Nazma Akhtar. I'm the executive director of the Awaj Foundation. I started work in the garments factory when I was 11 years old with my mothers. Awaj Foundation is a grassroots workers' organization. We are trying to move, empowering workers about their rights and responsibility. We are providing number of training about their health, about their rights, about their leadership, conflict, nutrition, financial management, legal aid support, healthcare support, emergency relief support, all kind of various, how to deal with their factory related issues. And also we giving educated the factory floor level management also. So we are trying mainly to organize and trying to establish union in the factory where female are participation and leadership, which is make them very strong and confidence and make them capable to do their factory daily base work and their daily things. and negotiation and resolve the issues and good environment for the factory as well as for the workers.
Thank you. And I've heard from you before, and I find your experience so just so prominent, I guess, in the industry, because you, as you said, you actually started working in the garment factory from the age of 11. So today the conversation is going to be around transparency, but I really want to hear from you as a previous garment worker, but somebody that interacts. You know, a lot of the conversation around transparency is coming from brands, industry, NGOs, but it's going to be really fascinating to hear about transparency from you and from the worker perspective. So I guess the question that I'd like to start with is, how has greater transparency from the brands supported better working conditions previously? And I say that knowing that during COVID, that's a whole different thing. But let's say in the last 5 years before the COVID situation, which we'll move on to, how has greater transparency from brands supporting better workers' rights?
You see, the transparency is very important for the business as well as for the workers and workers' well-being. If I'm going to talk about the transparency, most of the brand who are coming to start doing business in our country or India, Vietnam, Cambodia, Ethiopia, wherever, they come for the cheap labor. So when they come for the low wages, so is this transparency? Is this make good for the workers? Of course not, because they came, especially they exploiting and abusing young girls and women and the children. So the transparency is, if you talk last 5 years or something, because you know the Rana Plaza collapse, Darzrin and Ali Enterprise, and a lot of accident, a lot of workers killed and their life and severely injured. So that's the internationally focus about the workers' rights and workers' well-being and the issues. But if we really talk about the brand transparency, because they are not much care about the things, because transparency is very important, which supply chain they have, where the tier 1, tier 2, about the maternity issue, about the payment, about the freedom of association, job security, many other issues are also related to the transparency. Do they follow the respect the country law, the international guidelines or laws, and also their code of conduct? So this kind of issues, as long as not appropriate is addressing, I don't think there is much transparency. Even you see the COVID-19, I know that the COVID is affected across the world, but you know, our workers, hand to mouth, they don't have savings, they have nothing, because the cheap labor, low wages, which is also malnutrition is very daily issues for the workers' life and livelihood, and their children and family are also affected. When Europe, they close the store, immediately the cancellation, the order, suspension, holding, even they're asking for a discount. That is why even the Bangladeshi workers in April, they haven't get their full salary. They got 65% their salary and 25% they get the discount. So this is the things that happen, and when they are not thinking about the workers' life, workers' livelihood, workers' safety, security, protection, and unemployment scheme, then where the brands are taking the transparency, where the accountability, where is the justice? This is the things we found from the brand side is not doing anything, because even not a single brand doing very good things for the COVID time to show the positive things for the workers, for the suppliers. And when they are not show up this to the supplier, and supplier is not show up the workers. So this is the transparency. We are talking how things are going and how the things are not transparency.
Yeah. And that's, I guess, one of the key goals. So for those of you who don't know, I'm part of the team that produces the Fashion Transparency Index with Fashion Revolution. and we rank 250 of the world's largest brands and retailers according to how transparent they are around their policies, their impacts, and the outcomes. But I think hearing from what Nazma is saying, although brands, they are not being transparent, so let's just start there. There is so much, at the moment, transparency is let's say, a cherry picking exercise. They can talk about some things, but there is no regulation in place to say exactly what they need to talk about, all of that transparency that you're talking about, Nazma. But I guess one of the reasons we use this tool is to incentivize them to publish more information, which means that we can start to hold them to account. So if they say that they're doing one thing, but you find on the ground that they're not doing that, it allows the stakeholders to start to hold them more accountable for their actions. So whereas transparency is no means saying that they are behaving in a responsible way, it's giving us some information to start the dialogue and to push them towards better practices, let's say. And you did touch on this, Nazma, but what do we need to see brands telling us and being honest about with the impact of COVID? Because there have been, as you rightly said, but if you could touch on it again, severe impacts for garment workers due to COVID. And what do we now need to see from brands? What do they need to communicate to us about how they are being a responsible business partner?
You know, this COVID also give us a lot of lesson learned for the people. It's not only that affected by the poor country, it's also affected the rich country. So, you know, the natural and climate are not follow who is rich, who is poor. They are thinking all are equal in the earth. So that is also good learning, because people has maybe a lot of money, but it's COVID also affect and say also lost their life. Even the poor workers, garments workers, they have no social distance, they have not much safety, but they are working in the factory, open the store, but and these kind of things, without workers the factory is not running, without workers the store is not opening. So they that is the things the COVID seen, the things without poor people the world is not surviving. So that is why the workers ignorance need to be reduced. They have to be held accountable, they have to be responsible, they have to do the proper business, fair wages, a fair price and fair wages, and the brand are not seriously take this matter, human rights and business perspective way. These kind of things are very issues. Even this transparency, if it is not happen and the public information and all the disclose their workers well-being, and then it is not working. And also that ILO Convention 190, the world of work, all the harassment, abuse. These kind of issues also need to be, because when we talk about the workers and the working issues, women and women workers are working in the fashion industry. So, you know, when things are not transparent, when things are not fair, when things are not recognition or respectfully, a lot of harassment, abuse can happen, because due to lack of negligency and this. So these kind of issues, and also the women, how they can get the promotion, because in garment sector, mostly in Bangladesh, female are the labor force, men are the boss, and you know, they never think women can be go that position. Even the labor movement, the union movement, everywhere is a male dominating. So women when raise their voice, when they wanted to say, it's very hard and difficult and challenging also for them. So it's kind of things always happen. So that kind of things, what I'm saying, the accountability, responsibility, and it is very important, because when you are not doing your job properly, then you cannot ask to other people. So this kind of transparency is very important. and do care about the women's life and things. Because we are talking about the transparency and accountability. Most of the brand who are producing goods in our country, they are not visiting and monitoring physically in the factory. They everything is listening and hear by the a webinar or with the internet communication. But our workers, 100% workers are representative in the factory and they are working. And if the CEO of their CSR people are not entire in the factory, even the supplier are not entire in the factory, only the workers' responsibility to make the goods this very this pandemic, the coronavirus. That is the question, because our workers are low wages, they working, they do everything, but the people who are earn money, who get more and more wages, billions of dollars, but our workers are not given even $100 minimum wages per month. So this kind of system need to be changed. Power should be equally distributed. Systemic change is not happen due to Rana Plaza 7 years anniversary has gone, this disaster. But do the system has changed? Power is equally distributed. Workers get their profit share. Workers get their dignity. Workers get the respect. Workers get their living wage, freedom of association. That is the question, the transparency. If transparency is properly brand are following, then why this kind of things are not happen that much? Very little percent we have, because we need all supply chain should be like that.
Definitely. Thank you. There's so many very interesting points that you just made within that comment that I don't know where to start really. But I guess one thing that's interesting is when it comes to responsibility, what are your thoughts on that? And that's greater transparency, as we said, is just a tool which should enable better practices. So transparency is not the end goal. It's a process step in which we want to ensure that brands are taking serious steps forward towards, as you said, more power to workers and more equity to the workers. So what do you think? Do you think there's a role there, though, for governments? What is their role within this as well? Are we saying that it's solely on the brands to be transparent? Because what we're seeing is that it then allows them to pick and choose what they want to do. So what's your thoughts on regulation around brand disclosure, I guess, on that, and the accountability kind of side?
You see that when the workers have any mistake or anything wrong, they lost their job, when they raise their voice, when they protest for that, so wanted to listen their demand, nobody is listening. Even when they call for the strike, they are not listening, but they are blacklisted, they lost their job, and they are going to prison. So this is not the that is why the transparency is not only the tools is only for the one hand, it should be the better legislation also important, like in global supply chain. Like for example, nowadays the bankruptcy, if it is happen any American European company, then you don't need to pay the supplier bill because there is no regulation. And when the supplier is not getting the bill, it's affected workers' life and livelihood because the workers haven't get the salary and the wages. That is why we need to also international legislation hold accountable to the brand if they are not properly dealing with the workers' rights or workers' issue. There should be penalty and there should be legal punishment. That is very important, because you see the Rana Plaza, a lot of things are happening in this world. How many manufacturers or how many brands are going to legal punishment? No. But our workers, when they raise for their voice for more wages, more benefit, it's happened. So that is why these kind of things, and also our government, and those are the government, even the supplier, workers, everybody need to be strongly work and the things, and especially if we really want to change the workers condition, working condition, we need to raise our voice, we need to be strong, and we need to be responsible union and responsible industrial relation and trust building and confidence, and female should be in their voice, and female should be lead the things, because the issue affected all kind of things are women. So we need this kind of issues, and also the who are the accountable, who are the responsible for whom, all layer and everywhere should be the transparency, and who is getting more profit and more benefit, and he or she might be more responsibility, because I pay as a worker little amount, so why I have to be all the responsibility? If without me the store is not open, without me the factory is not running, so but my salary is not even the living wage, even only the minimum wage. So that kind of things we need to be addressing, and we need to be talking about the issues.
Definitely. And again, some incredible points. So I think one of the things that you made is that it's those who are benefiting the most are accounting for things the least, let's say. They're not accounting for things equally. So there's a massive distribution issue within the benefit and responsibility of the supply chain there. And I guess that what we were talking about there is interesting around the relationships and the trust, because it's another way in which transparency can enable more and better relationships and better trust between parties if they are open and honest. And that's really what transparency comes down to. It's being open about your practices and being honest about what's happening within your company and your supply chain. And it will also allow governments to hold brands to account, because they can put laws in place, but if they're actually going to govern whether brands comply by those laws, public disclosure of information will allow governments to do that, or third parties such as whistleblowers and other things like that. And then what could you talk a little bit about the multi-stakeholder initiatives and the union's role in this as well, because they have a key part to play, right? Because they interact and influence a large number of brands.
Thank you. If I'm going to talk about the multi-stakeholder initiative who are leading the brand membership, I don't think they are doing so much for the workers and worker well-being, because seems to me, in my experience, they more care and more do about the company purpose service, because this their membership, they are paying their membership fee or whatever. So mostly they protect the business and business community. I don't think they are much about these things. So because you are talking about the third party audit or whatever, why we need the third party audit? If the factory has the union, if factory has the real participation, if they have their voice, obviously things are changing. So because it's a between management, workers and brand, these three are same business board. So if there is the same board, so why one is in the good position, some people are in the business class and people who are the economic class, they should be all equally treat their job and do this kind of things. If I'm going to talk about the union things also, a union we have, and also we have global union, we have global north and global south. So global north, which is very important for us, and the union we respect and we want them, and they are also supporting us. Even the production country, we have also union, and it's very question of the how transparent, how accountable, because corruption is everywhere, and how the women's are participant. This kind of things also need to be changed, and we need the women's participation in the fashion industry. So we are more hopeful, and we are trying, and that is why our organization is trying to change and trying to build the female leadership and trying to raise their voice. That is why the workers' voice and workers' organizing is very important. Although workers has a lot of challenges, a lot of things, but their voice is very important and they need to organize. That is why they need to be proper motivation, proper guidelines, proper issues, and what is the demand, how they have to raise. That kind of capacity also need to workers, and that is important, and we need to solidarity support for the workers' voice and workers' organizing. And consumer is the main who can support the workers' well-being, because many times we consumer, we forgot where it's made and where it's coming, how it's getting discount, how it goes to sell. Somebody has to pay for that. It is the workers' blood and sweat and building collapse. So this kind of things, and workers need to be organizing, and that is why the brand has to be accountable and within their supply chain, no fear, no scared when they want to join, organize their union, or they want to raise their voice. Job security is very important. If there is a job security, worker can raise their voice or something, because when they have no job, and we earn hand to mouth. If we eat today, if tomorrow we don't work, we can't eat. So that is the things are created by capitalism, neoliberalization, fundamentalization, globalization. That is the way the poor people are, even the colonialized, used to be land, now with the trade. So this kind of systemic change need to be, otherwise it's very hard, because auto machine kills women's job, because unskilled women are working. When this machine comes, it goes to the man job, the reduced number of women job. So there is no balance, there is no sustainability. So these kind of things need to be addressed. Otherwise, it's not working.
Definitely. And I'm conscious that we are going over time, and I want to give a bit of time for questions. So I think Kelly mentioned, but if anyone has questions for Nazma or me, please pop them in the chat, and I'll ask you one last question, Nazma, and then we can move on to the audience questions, because I'm sure that they want to speak for themselves. But I think you touched on a very good point, and I'm happy you did, because one of Fashion Revolution's initial campaigns and one of our most famous activations is the Who Made My Clothes hashtag. And we created that in response to what you're saying, in trying to, one, put a light on the workers, because if you can't see workers, it's very hard to protect their rights and understand their needs. So we wanted to bring the dialogue of workers to consumers ourselves, but into brands. So we wanted people to ask, who made my clothes, to the brand, to push them to be able to answer that. Tell us about the people behind our clothes. But on that note, we have this campaign, and we have it every year during Fashion Revolution Week. But what else can consumers be doing to be in solidarity with the workers and to be supporting their well-being? What would you tell us today? What should be the top things that we are pushing for? And if you could answer that, and then we can have some questions from the audience.
Alicia, which I told also, the consumer is the key tools for workers' welfare and well-being, because if consumers are not buying the goods, then nobody can be take the champion or hero. So things that the consumer, if we go to the Primark annual turnover, you can see how much they have, or Tesco or M&S, because I'm talking, because Fashion Revolution is based in UK, or Sainsbury. And how much goes to yearly for the workers? That kind of things also consumer need to realize. And when as a consumer we buy the goods, because COVID-19, I was very depression. I was ill. I was thinking I should not eat much. I should not wear the dress. And I'm trying to find all the left of old thing and bad thing, because I feel so bad, because people have illness, people have no food, they struggle for surviving, no job. So it's make me very hard. And I was decided I didn't wear new dress, or I shouldn't buy. But it's make me very bad, and it's make me very tired. But and one day I decided, no, I have to uh, take my good clothes from the um, uh, cabinet, and I have to wear, or I have to think I next time I will buy this dress or something. And it's make me happy, because the fashion, the dress also make you happy, make you relax with things. So this dress we made for you. I made your clothes, and we made your clothes, and we make you happy, we make you stylish, you make you fashion, we make you cover your naked. Lot of things are related to the fashion. That is why the consumer is very important to hold accountable to the brand and ensuring the things. Even we know, because when we go, even myself as a consumer, when we get the sale, good price, we are buying so much, but we never think this type of company who are not giving workers minimum wage, who are not trying to give their proper rights and respect and dignity, do they give us this kind of sale or this kind of discount? That kind of education and awareness is very important. And that is why they can, consumer can talk with the workers, talk with like organization with us, the fashion revolution, industrial global union, our we are and they have to talk with them and learn from the workers issues and things. That kind of things a consumer can do. And what is the short term, mid term, long term action plan, where also the consumer need to be also engaged the things.
I think there's one question, so we're going to jump to that and let Kelly ask it, I think. But just to note, Nazma, on your last point, I think it's important for us to also recognize that even a high price point garment, maybe the worker's not earning much, right? So actually, the price that we're being charged for that garment, whether high or low, we still need to be asking how much of this is going to the worker, how much they actually getting paid. So Kelly, do you want to jump in with
Sure. We'll just there's just the one question because we do have a session at 2:30. Unfortunately, we are going to have to end it at this question. How can we, as companies who aren't directly connected to their seamstresses and producers of the clothing that they sell, how can they help them?
Kelly, can you say again the question slowly?
So for the companies that are not directly connected to the people who make the clothing that they sell, how can they help? How can they amplify? How can they support these workers if they're not directly connected?
Yes, this is very good, and thank you. The question, what I understood, because in the brand and in the global supply chain, most of the case also we found the brand are doing business with the sourcing company and agency, and they are not look after the workers' well-being and their rights. Only they are look after the quality and price. So which is also make a lot of difficulties workers like. So that is why they need to communicate with us who working for the workers' rights, or who's the factory they are producing and where the workers things. So if they know the factory or factory name, or if they wanted to really support the workers, so they can direct talk to the workers, or they can communicate with us. We can link up them also different factory or different brands factory where they're producing. So this way we can also, they can support and they can help, and they can communicate with the workers community also, and then they can support how they can, what kind of support they wanted to for their well-being.
Great. Thank you.
Am I correct?
Hopefully that helps. Any final thoughts, parting words from you ladies?
I just want to say thank you to Nazma for joining at such a late time in the day. I think it's so important that we actually hear from you on the ground. You're in daily interaction with the workers, and to hear, what the experience is from your side and what we need to be doing on our side. So I really can't thank you enough for your time. And thank you to the audience for bearing with us as we connected. But Nazma, thank you for sharing everything you've shared.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, and please look after who are listening this our struggle, and please be with us, support with us, and we need your support and solidarity, and we need to work together. We need to raise our voice very strongly, need to change the world and change and save the women's life. It is very important in supply chain, uh, how make transparency and how we make them happy and how we can do better things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all. We'll see you at in about 10 minutes for the next session. Bye-bye.